Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Run It Back. I'm Noam. He's Jacob Sondik. Together we'll be looking at the UConn men's basketball week 2 of their season. They were down in the Bahamas for the battle for Atlantis. Overall, successful week, yay or nay?
I'm going to go with yay. I think the Michigan State loss, it's a loss. We haven't been used to that this year. But I think playing Baylor at this point, coming off back-to-back tough games, especially a double overtime game, we'll talk about that. I feel as if it wouldn't have been beneficial. I really don't. I mean, of course they wanted to, like Hurley said, we wanted to play Baylor, and 100%. And he's a competitor, and it just wouldn't have gone well. And I don't think we're at that point right now. Baylor has that mentality where they can rattle off games. They did it last year. They're not defending champs for a reason. So I'm yay. That Auburn one was insane. The VCU game was super ugly. Someone had to win it, and I think the good guys won. So I'm pretty satisfied. What about you? What are your vibes right now?
I'm very satisfied. It was fun to have games that my heart was pounding again. I mean, we talked about it week 1 with the cupcakes. Now you jump into this week, it was like tough opponent after tough opponent after tough opponent. You know, they beat Auburn 115-109 in double overtime because 1 wasn't enough. Come back the next day, you blow a late lead to Michigan State, you lose 64-60. Okay, fine. What do you have to do? You have to go back. You have to go out and salvage the third game against VCU, and they did just that. 70-63 in overtime. Probably one of the uglier basketball games I've ever seen. I think there was something like 43 combined fouls. It was gross.
More fouls than field goals, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's a stat. I don't know, maybe, but
I trust you.
I appreciate that.
But overall, I mean, yeah. I mean, you come in third place, just like they did in Charleston 2 years ago. That's a good tournament overall, and they learned a lot from that tournament. Let's start with Auburn.
I think with Auburn, it was all about how they respond. I mean, they went down 21-10 early, and I think all of us, we were kind of shell-shocked. We haven't been down that much this whole year. I mean, I haven't really been down at all. But the run they went on to close out the first half was insane. It's the best stretch of basketball they played this year. I mean, they outscored them by 20. They took 11-point lead into halftime.
Yeah.
And it just shows that, and this happens with UConn teams in the past. I feel like this is just known. They start off really slow. They dig themselves into a hole, but they responded well. I mean, guys were hitting their shots, and I mean, feed Sinogo, and they did just that. And the other guys did a really good job. I mean, Polly was hitting crazy shot after crazy shot. So
yeah, 30 points from Adama Sinogo, 24 points from Tyler Polly, his career high. Also, Adama Sinogo's career high. Tyler Polly shot the lights out against Auburn.
Just knew it was in that pump fake.
Yeah.
Love that for Polly.
He was in rhythm, and Adama Sinogo was just eating. So you get to the end of the game, you finally win in double overtime. You hang on. You manage to fend off, this furious Auburn rally that was like not really a rally, but more just like UConn being sloppy with the ball, trying to break the press, couldn't close. Just sloppy, but they figured out a way to win the game. And after the game, they're shaking hands, and all of a sudden Isaiah Whaley's on the ground, and the broadcasters are talking about, oh, UConn wins, they're going to semifinals.
And then they just cut it to a different game. It's like, I want to know how this guy's doing.
And there's not a lot of media down there. Credit to Mike Anthony and Alexa Phillip who were tweeting and giving us updates, and we quickly learned that it was Isaiah Whaley, in fact, and that he did get up quickly. And the team said that he fainted. He was just exhausted, dehydrated,
excited because they won. It was like that guy literally puts his body on the line for the squad. And when he came back, we knew what we were getting. And thank God he's okay.
Yeah, I mean, now that we know he's okay, it's like okay to joke about the fact that he literally juiced himself so hard, like he was so excited that he passed out.
Yeah,
that's pretty sick.
That's the wrench for you. He's the
Thank God he's okay.
Thank God he's okay.
And we know he's okay because he posted this on Twitter.
Yeah,
So Whaley missed the Michigan State game. The wrench was out, and that was tough because the wrench holds everything together for UConn.
He's the glue.
He's the glue. They're undefeated.
No doubt about it. Stats don't lie.
Stats don't lie. So they played Michigan State. It was tough. They were up late. 57-51, I think it was.
Around there, 6-point lead, like 4 to go, 4.5 to go.
They just couldn't close. They fell apart. They lost their legs. But at the end of the day, it's okay, right?
I think it's okay. Michigan State, they're like, oh, we lost an unranked team. Well, we woke up today, and guess what? Michigan State's ranked, and it's Tom Izzo. The guy's been doing it forever and ever and ever. I don't even care if they weren't ranked today. That's not a bad loss. We've seen top teams have really terrible losses. I mean, Kansas lost on a prayer to Dayton. That's just the example that comes to mind.
Yeah.
So
nice shot.
Pretty crazy shot. Dickie V on the call. Loved it. But if that's our one loss, I think I'm okay with it. I really am. I mean, thank God if they didn't beat VCU, we'd be having a different conversation. But they pulled it together. They won the majority of the games they played in. That's all you can ask for. Yeah. Really.
So they came back against VCU. They won 70-63 in overtime. It's a good win. It's a gritty win. It was ugly.
So ugly.
I don't even really want to talk about it.
I don't really either. I mean, RJ Cole was huge with his buckets. I mean, he had 26, I think. And Whaley became Steph. I was like, don't shoot it. Shot it, made it, and then he made the first shot in overtime. I was like, all right.
3 huge threes from Whaley.
3 for 3?
Yeah.
So,
Adama Sanogo, great week. Big East player of the week, in fact. And let's take a listen to what Isaiah Whaley had to say about him at practice on Monday.
Try to warn everybody. We try to tell everybody, and everybody's like, all right, but everybody see now. But he's one of the hardest working players that I've ever been around. And it's really fun to play with a guy like that, especially when everything's going bad. He's a guy where you're like, okay, we can give it to him down low, and something good could happen.
So we transition from Atlantis, which was overall a good week, and now I want to hear your weekly MVP.
So my weekly MVP, we talked about it enough in terms of the V and MVP, valuable to the team. I got to go with Whaley. Like we just talked about, he's the glue for this team. He has been for a while, and the whole landscape shifts when he's out there because, yeah, the other guys can block shots, but he's the defensive player of the year for a reason, and he not only does he block shots, you see it. He alters shots, and he's a presence at the rim, and he takes pressure off Sanogo. Hopefully, we'll talk about the foul trouble because, that was kind of an issue, even though he didn't foul out, which is awesome. But I got to go Whaley. His impact is outstanding, and, well, he's not the best player. Like Hurley said, he's the most important, I think, by a long shot. I really do.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with you, and I hope that, as the season goes on, Whaley continues to develop that offensive confidence because that's so important for his team.
Because they're going to leave him out there.
So important.
No team is going to guard him out there.
And big-to-big passing is something that's hard to see.
Yeah.
We don't see it often.
No.
But when you see it, it's a beautiful thing. And if Adama Sanogo, who Coach talked about earlier today, is going to learn how to pass, he's going to get there. If he can learn to distribute it to the other big guy in Whaley, the team's going to be really good down there. Now, my weekly MVP is Tyrese Martin. Tyrese Martin, as we talked about throughout the week, is just a dog.
He's a dog.
He's not the most talented.
No.
Definitely not the most skilled. Has some careless turnovers, commits some dumb fouls. But that guy plays harder than anybody on the court every single game. There was a play against Michigan State, right? He blocked the shot, took it in transition, and threw it down.
That was awesome.
And my goodness, that is a freakish play.
Yeah. Just two-way player, just doing two-way player things.
Yeah.
Thanks for Rhode Island. Thanks to Hurley. He was like, all right, I'm going to take you. Put you in a program where you can succeed.
It's huge. He brought the juice all week. He was
Always.
big. He was consistent.
Even on a bum elbow. He was struggling with the elbow. He was
the wrist.
The wrist. Bandaged up every which way. So
yeah, no, he was great. I really enjoyed watching him play. I thought that without him, the team would have looked flat. They're playing in this tiny arena in front of maybe 1,000 fans. Only like 600 against VCU, and without his energy, they wouldn't have come out 2-1 on the week.
100%.
So Martin was consistent. Cole was consistent. Sanogo was consistent. Whaley was consistent. But let's talk about the bench. The bench was not super consistent, and that worries me. Let's take a look at some stats. Jordan Hawkins, Tyler Polley, great games against Auburn. Hawkins, 16 points. Polley, a career-high 24, as we said. But then Hawkins comes back, puts up 4 points against Michigan State and only 2 points against VCU. And Polley comes out with a goose egg against Michigan State and only 3 points against VCU. And here's a guy, a Cook, who's fully healthy, we think, more than 18 months post-Achilles surgery. He should be the first big man off the bench, replacing either Sanogo or Whaley. He plays 11 minutes against Auburn, 18 minutes against Michigan State, and only 4 minutes against VCU. That's 33 minutes in 3 games, 11 minutes a game. That really worries me.
That's a little scary, but I'm going to vouch for a Cook a little bit. I feel like I think this week is big for him personally because he needs that confidence because when he came in here, he had all the confidence in the world. He was blocking shots, he was taking inside the rim, and now he's shooting threes, which is awesome to see, but I think with more minutes, he'll develop confidence, but yeah, I agree, that's scary for a guy that was a starter his freshman year.
I hope you're right. I think you're right. A Cook's Cook's one of my favorite guys to watch. I've
Oh,
talked
he's
about it
awesome.
all
He's
the
a
time.
fan
He's
favorite.
a fan favorite.
Right.
And it's okay. You know, he's playing against tough competition, guys who are super strong, physical. He's not the most physical big, but this is a big week for him, like you said. Now, another guy we talked about briefly, Hawkins. He can light it up, you know, over and over and over. Carl Ravitch said he's the air fryer.
I hate that.
We get it. Nobody really liked it, and it's fine.
Stop trying to be cool, Ravitch.
We'll get a new one for him throughout the season.
100%.
He's a talented scorer. Now it's time that he puts it together. He had that costly late turnover against Auburn where he just kind of dropped the ball, but that's okay. You know, the team bounced back, they won, but I think it got in his head for games 2 and 3 in Atlantis.
I think so too. I mean, his head, and he was upset, and that just proves how much he cares and how he doesn't want to like let the team down. But he played great without him not in the game against Auburn. So yeah, he turned the ball over, but so many turnovers this weekend. Like Sondik had 8 against Auburn, so it doesn't. One turnover doesn't define you, especially like in your first game at the college level against non-cupcakes.
Yeah.
And so I think he needs to keep his head up, and the confidence needs to be there because he can light it up like not too many guys I've seen off the bench.
I think the next 2 games are going to be really big for him as well.
I think so too.
I think Hurley's got to draw up a lot of plays for him. Plays where he comes off screens, where
Catch and shoot a little bit.
Catch and shoot, drives to the hoop, clear
Definitely.
outs, like isolation. Like I'd like to see him get super involved in the offense so that when we go to West Virginia, he's going in as a 6'5" confident guard. He's not going in as a freshman who's scared to touch the ball because he might turn it over once or
Yeah,
twice.
exactly. Turnovers happen. So
Last thing, quickly on the bench inconsistencies. Jalen Gaffney was not great this week. And we talked about it on our first episode how we thought he was on the rise. This was a setback for him.
I think it was. I think the press kind of overwhelmed him a lot. It overwhelmed the whole team. I mean, RJ had to call a couple timeouts, and I feel like now I don't think that's going to happen again. Like the press might call turnovers here and there, but we're not going to be completely overwhelmed by a team that does. Because if you see your credit to them, not a great team, a really great defensive team, and a really great full court pressing team. The way they trapped, they would first force timeouts, they'd force turnovers. So I agree. Gaffney didn't have a great week, but they still were 2-1, and I feel like once he figures out his role a little bit as that first like guard off the bench, I think he'll be fine. But like that happens with him. It's a confidence thing sometimes with them also.
It gets in his head, and it's tough to see because he's got the talent, and he's got the confidence, and the poise, and the consistency to be that really solid, backup point guard.
Absolutely.
Did you see the stat? UConn faced the number 3 and 5 Ken Pom defenses. It was VCU and was it Michigan State or?
I think I had it in Michigan State. Yeah,
And
that's all you got to say right there. That's why the Michigan State lost. Like it's a sick defensive team. You're playing. I don't even want to know what Coppin State's Ken Pom defensive rating is. Got to be in the hundreds.
Yeah. These games, they learned a lot about themselves. And they moved up in the AP poll. Huskies started the week at 22. They lost a game, and then they moved up all the way to number 17 in the rankings. What does that say about UConn?
Well, it says that we're not under the radar as much as we thought we were, and the AP didn't care about that loss because, and I think about like if they beat Michigan State and played Baylor and inevitably lost to Baylor, what would it have changed? I mean, we'll never know.
Yeah.
But I feel like that just proves to me, and it should prove to the country that like this team is legit. And I know they're the odds-on favorite to win the conference, but I don't think it's as clear-cut as we think with Nova. I just don't. I mean, I've watched them play, and they've looked awesome because Jay Wright, Fortune 500 company, and they win 2 out of the last 4. They won 18 and 20, right? I have that right.
16-18.
16-18.
Yeah.
There we go. But I think the gap is smaller than people think. The mistakes we'll have to address, but I think it just proves that this team is legit. Things we've known, but things that now the rest of the world gets to wake up to.
They lost to Michigan State. Oh well. They're a good team. We know they're a good team.
That is not the only ranked win Tom Izzo's going to have this year.
Right. Yeah,
so,
that Michigan State team's going to be better than
they're legit.
17, dude. That's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I mean, it's the highest since 2014.
Yeah.
I mean, we know what happened that year.
It's true.
There's a long way to go.
And now we look forward, and they have 2 more cupcakes this week, which is great. It's going to allow them to take what they learned in Atlantis and put it into action. Tuesday night, they have Maryland Eastern Shore at the XL Center.
Dub.
And then Saturday, they have Grambling State at home at Gamble.
Dub.
Then the schedule really ramps up. Now, if UConn can win this week, they'll either stay at 17 or they're going to move up. Right. Some teams ahead of them will probably lose. Then they'll go into West Virginia.
Mountain Mama.
West Virginia, tougher than a weekend on your in-laws, John
It's
Watson.
true. God, we're quoting Rusty all episode.
Then, neutral site game, St. Bonaventures, who just dropped out of the top 25 after a fluky loss to Northern Iowa, but just won Charleston Classic right before that. Now, if UConn can somehow win the next 4 games and be 10-1 entering Big East play, top 10?
I think top 10. It depends how the teams ahead of them do, obviously, and if we can actually take care of business. But, I mean, they'd have an SEC key win, they'd have a Big 12 key win, and they'd have a Bonnie's win, which they just fell out of the rankings, but they were beating teams. I mean, they won every game before that. Those are, like...
They were number 16 in the country.
Those are quality wins. So, yeah, I feel like top 10. I feel like minimum top 12.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, to get that momentum going into conference play is also huge.
Yeah.
Like, rankings be damned a little bit, like, which it's a cool to look at, but get it coming into Providence, like, 5 in a row, 10-1. Woo! Scary.
Yeah. Now, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Excuse me. I say that as I stumble over my words and get ahead of myself.
We're hype, you know?
But
Can't help it.
this team, they're set up for success. They got 2 games right now, then they got 2 big tests. And then it's Big East play. That's going to be a lot of fun because the Big East looks pretty good this year.
Big East looks
and
pretty good.
UConn, my friends, looks really good this year.
I'm excited. I mean, last undefeated team, DePaul, though.
Well, they played literally nobody. I'm sorry.
That's fair.
I'm sorry.
The test will come for them.
Yeah, it will.
And us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It was a good week. Hope you all had a good Thanksgiving. I know we didn't get to do a Zoom episode. Sorry. Too busy eating turkey and watching basketball. It was a good week of basketball overall,
Oh, my God, a great week of basketball. I mean, Duke Gonzaga was like, yeah, Duke. I was so not shocked. Like, the fact that Duke was that heavy of an underdog, come on. They have the best player in the country.
Paulo.
3 dribbles,
Yeah.
3-pointer.
He's good.
He's amazing.
That was a high-level basketball game. Anyways, UConn, Maryland Eastern Shore. God, I can't remember their name. And then UConn Grambling State. That's what's on tap. We'll see you next week. We'll talk about West Virginia. We'll talk about St. Bonaventures. And we'll talk about the week that UConn just played. For Jacob Sondik, I'm Noam. Thanks for tuning in to Run It Back.